A pharmaceutical company ran illegal experiments on human subjects for decades. The man who found the proof made one recording and was dead 4 days later. I found the audio file 3 weeks ago on a closed forum for whistleblowers. No context, no name, just a date and a file, posted by an account deleted within hours of the upload, but the file itself was never taken down, and I have spent 3 weeks trying to understand if that was an oversight or a message. The man speaking is Daniel Voss, 34, a logistics coordinator from Cincinnati, found dead in his apartment 11 days after his scheduled release date from a paid research study. Cardiac arrest, no autopsy requested, case closed in 72 hours. I'll let him tell it.
My name is Daniel Voss, and I need whoever hears this to understand that I have documentation for everything I'm about to say. Physical documents, photographs, dates, and on day 21 I found files from 1987 hidden behind a panel in the lower level. 40 pages of clinical data with the same parameters as our study, the same facility layout, different participants, and at the bottom of the last page, handwritten in different ink, results consistent with previous cycle. Recommend continuation. The study has been running for 37 years. I was not a researcher who found it. I was inside it. I need to explain what the study is actually measuring, because it is not what the listing described, and it is not what any ethical review board would approve, and I know that because I found the ethical review documentation too. The signature belongs to a man who died in 2019, heart failure, no autopsy, case closed in 48 hours. The medication is not treating anything. That is the point. Not a side effect, not a formulation error, but the entire purpose of the study, which is to find the precise dosage at which a chronic condition becomes permanently manageable but never curable. The exact threshold where a patient needs the medication indefinitely but never improves enough to stop. And the 1987 files show they found that threshold 37 years ago and have spent every cycle since refining the delivery mechanism and extending the dependency timeline. The drug is already on the market. I found the commercial name on day 28, cross-referenced against the compounds in our daily medication, and the match was exact, not similar, exact. And I sat with that for 3 days before I could write it down, because writing it down meant accepting that the people currently taking this medication for legitimate chronic conditions are not getting better, because they were never supposed to get better, and that the clinical trials that approved it were conducted by the same team running this study since 1987, and that the data submitted to regulators was not falsified, but selectively accurate, which is worse, because selectively accurate data is unimpeachable. On day 31, I found participant records from the previous cycle, names, dates, outcomes, and every participant I could trace was alive, which I initially thought was a relief, and then I understood what it meant. They hadn't been harmed in any obvious way. They had been sent home, chronically dependent on a medication they would need to purchase for the rest of their lives from the same company that had put it in their bodies without their knowledge. And nobody had reported anything because nobody connected the study to the dependency. Because by the time the dependency became apparent, the study was a memory, and the medication was just something their doctor had recommended. I have been taking it for 31 days, and I don't know what that means for me yet. I can't separate what I'm feeling into categories anymore, can't tell where the fear ends and the dependency begins, and I think that confusion is also part of the design. The names I found, the people who have been funding and protecting this since before I was born, are not people I expected, and I want to be careful because careful is the only thing keeping me functional. But what I can tell you is that the board of the company includes people whose names you would recognize, and the regulatory official who approved the original market authorization in 1994 is currently...
The recording ends there. I don't know if Daniel was interrupted or if that section was removed before the file reached the forum. The metadata shows no gap, no edit, no compression artifact suggesting a cut, but metadata can be cleaned. And whoever deleted the account that posted this file had the access and capability to do it without leaving a trace, and I have spent 3 weeks on that question without resolution. What I can establish, Daniel Voss enrolled in a study operated by a company registered in Delaware with no public-facing identity, dissolved 6 weeks after his death, whose single-named director shared a name with a participant in the 1987 documents. Not the same person, the dates don't allow for it, but the same name, and I don't know if that means nothing or everything. Daniel died on a Tuesday. Cardiac arrest, 34 years old, no prior cardiac history, no risk factors in any record I could access, no autopsy because no one requested one, and no one requested one because no one knew anything was wrong until he was already gone, and by then the facility had been vacated and the company dissolved, and the only thing left was a death certificate that said natural causes and a forum post that almost nobody saw. The account that posted the file had been active for 11 months before the upload, commenting, contributing, building credibility, and was deleted within 3 hours of posting Daniel's recording, which means either someone was watching that forum in real time or the deletion was automated, and I don't know which of those I find less frightening. The file is still accessible. I have checked every day for 3 weeks. It has not been taken down, and I don't know if that means they don't know about it or they don't care, and I don't know which of those is worse. The medication Daniel identified is currently prescribed to millions of people across 31 countries. The company reported $12 billion in revenue last year. 3 members of its board have held positions in federal regulatory agencies. I am not going to name them here for the same reason Daniel stopped where he stopped, not because I don't have the names, but because Daniel had them too, and Daniel is dead. The listing that recruited him was taken down after his death and reposted 3 weeks later with a different name, a different location, and the same parameters, and as of this morning it has received over 400 applications. I don't know who will answer it next. I know they won't know what they're signing.